Hey guys, I'm back again, and today is Vlogmas day 11, and I am here to talk about five-star nonfiction reads. So yesterday I did my five-star fiction reads, so I thought I would go to nonfiction. Now, if you've been following me on here, you know me and nonfiction, like, it's not that I don't like nonfiction. It's just that it just doesn't come to mind first for me. For me, I'm a big fiction lover. So I always gravitate towards fiction first. But I have been reading more and more nonfiction over the years, and I've been very, very lucky to have fallen upon all good things nonfiction. I have never really fallen upon anything nonfiction that I was just like, oh no, I can't do this. So here are some of my five favorites that for me are 5 stars. So the first book I'm going to talk about, I read this year, and it was a buddy read with my friend Patrice. It's called The Defender: How the Legendary Black Newspaper Changed America by Ethan McKiley. Now, this book was just so interesting to me. Now, I purchased this book, I think it was the year it came out, which was in 2014. No, it wasn't 2014. I purchased this book sometime around like 2018, something like that. And it was because I had read another book, which is called Jam on the Vine, one of my faves. And in that book, it talks about the Defender, because it's a book that talks about African-American newspapers. And so that led me to the Defender, this book. And I just said, look, I'm going to read this because I need to know about this black newspaper. So when the book came, it's like super chunky. Now, I'm going to say, don't be afraid of the fact that it's super chunky, because it reads really, really well. The author, Ethan McKiley, does a great job with recounting the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of the Defender. He talks about how the newspaper started, how difficult it was to start, how it developed, and how it changed hands. And he just goes through the whole thing. And it's towards the end that we realize that Ethan McKiley actually is a reporter from the Defender. He's a white man, but he's a reporter at the Defender. And so, yeah, I feel like if you're interested in black newspapers and the beginning of black newspapers, this book you need to read. It's fantastic. All right, so let me give you a little bit of description of what they say about the Defender. Giving voice to the voiceless, the Chicago Defender condemned Jim Crow, catalyzed the Great Migration, and focused the electoral power of Black America. Robert S. Abbott founded the Defender in 1905, smuggled hundreds of thousands of copies into the most isolated communities in the segregated South, and was dubbed a modern Moses, becoming one of the first Black millionaires in the process. His successor wielded the newspaper's clout to elect mayors and presidents, including Harry S. Truman and John F. Kennedy, who would have lost in 1960 if not for the Defender's support. Along the way, its pages were filled with columns by legends like Ida B. Wells, Langston Hughes, and Martin Luther King. So you get an idea. Go ahead and read it. It's really, really good. Not at all pedantic or boring or dry. I really enjoyed it, and Patrice enjoyed it as well. We learned so many things. I highly, highly recommend this one. Okay, the next book on this list is Black and British: A Forgotten History by David Olusoga. Okay, now this one is another excellent read, which was also a buddy read with my friend Patrice. We read this in 2021, I think like around November, December. And it was fantastic. This book delves deeply into this idea of how long have Black people been living in Britain, and what is the history behind Black people living in Britain. It delves deep And it goes hard. And of course, when you scrape too much, you find America up in there somewhere. You know how it be. So we really enjoyed it. Now, it made us mad as hell most of the time. Because most of the time, I was so mad. I was like, Patrice, why we keep doing the same thing over and over again, And you know how it be. But I feel like this is something that we really need to read, because it does go all the way back, even before the transatlantic slave trade, and then runs it all the way through to modern day. It's just fantastic. It's really very, very good. I think there's also a BBC show that is based on Black and British that is supposed to be very good as well. But I highly recommend the book. So it says, in Black and British, award-winning historian and broadcaster David Olusoga offers readers a rich and revealing exploration of the extraordinarily long relationship between the British Isles and the people of Africa. Drawing on new genetic and genealogical research, original records, expert testimony, and contemporary interviews, Black and British reaches back to Roman Britain, the medieval imagination, and Shakespeare's Othello. Get this book and read it. It is chunky, but don't be put off by that. It reads very, very well. Okay, now the next book on my list. This book I read with my book club here in Normandy. We read this one last year, and it's called The Black Count, Glory, Revolution, Betrayal, and the Real Count of Monte Cristo by Time Rice. This book is sublime. Okay, so I love some Alexandre Dumas. I already spearheaded back in, I don't know, I think it might have been 2017 or something. We did a group read online of The Count of Monte Cristo. And oh my God, fantastic. So this book has been on my TBR since it came out, because it basically looks deeply into Alexandre Dumas' father, who was the General Alex Dumas. And it looks into the man, where he came from, what his military career was like. He had a very successful military career. He was very efficient and did his job extremely well. So well that Napoleon didn't like it. But anyway, enough being said, read the book. Now, Time Rice, just to let you know, had to go through a lot of documents that were not even in English. A lot of the documents he had to go through were in French. So he had to do a lot of long, extensive research in order to be able to write this book really well. And it gets into the deep depths of all of this militariness, what's going on with the military, the different wars they fought, some of the details within that. And it's just really, really fantastic. I highly recommend that you read this one. It's really, really very good. Okay, so it says, the real-life protagonist of The Black Count, General Alex Dumas, is a man almost unknown today, yet with a story that is strikingly familiar, because his son, the novelist Alexandre Dumas, used it to create some of the best-loved heroes of literature. Yet hidden behind these swashbuckling adventures was an even more incredible secret. The real hero was the son of a black slave who rose higher in the white world than any man of his race would before our own time. So there you have it. Read the book. It's so good. It's so very good. And it makes for an excellent discussion in a book club. So I highly recommend this one. Okay, the next book on my list is all-time favorite, and I think everybody needs to read this particular book. And it's called The Warmth of Other Suns it's The Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration by Isabel Wilkerson. Now, if you have not read this book, I beseech you to run off right now to your bookstore and buy it and read it. This is a must read. Everybody must read this book. If you want to understand better what's wrong with America, read this book. Now, Isabel Wilkerson does something here that is very special with her writing. She writes the story so it feels like fiction, but it's really not. It's nonfiction. So she basically explores three people's lives who were brought up in different areas of the South and how they migrated to different other areas of the U.S. One migrates up to New York, another one out to California, another one, I think, out to Chicago. And we follow these people so closely. We're living it with them. We're living it with them. And she does a fantastic job of showing us what it was like living back then and in the South, and then trying to move to other areas of the U.S. and to continue on the best that we can as being a Black person. I highly recommend you read this book. It is, like I said, a must read. So it says, in this epic, beautifully written masterwork, Pulitzer Prize winning author Isabel Wilkerson chronicles one of the great untold stories of American history, the decades-long migration of Black citizens who fled the South for northern and western cities in search of a better life from 1915 to 1970. This exodus of almost 6 million people changed the face of America. Wilkerson compares this epic migration to the migrations of other peoples in history. She interviewed more than 1,000 people and gained access to new data and official records to write this definitive and vividly dramatic account of how these American journeys unfolded, altering our cities, our country, and ourselves. Get the book. Get the book. Get it. Okay, the last book on my list of 5 is this one, which is called The Fire This Time, A New Generation Speaks About Race, and it's by Jesmyn Ward. So this is a collection of essays that was put together by Jesmyn Ward. So she chose the essays from the authors that she wanted to be present in this book. And fantastic. I mean, fantastic. So the essays revolve around what it is to be Black in America and what is racism today in America. And the authors that are in it, I mean, just fantastic. Wonderful essays. I sometimes still pick that book up today and I'll read through certain essays. So let me let you know what they say. In this best-selling, widely lauded collection, Jesmyn Ward gathers our most original thinkers and writers to speak on contemporary racism and race, including Carol Anderson, Jericho Brown, Edwige Dontica, Kevin Young, Claudia Rankin, and Honore Jeffers. An absolutely indispensable anthology. The Fire This Time shines a light on the darkest corners of our history, wrestles with our current predicament, and imagines a better future. Do I need to say more? Get the book. Get the book, people. Get the book. So, that is all I have for you today. I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Bye.